What I want to do in this video is have a look at the growth of liberal opposition to Nicholas during his reign. And we're just going to start by having a little introduction to the topic in general. So, industrial and educational expansion produced a middle class that was seeking liberal change. Okay, so this liberal change, these liberal oppositions came out of economic developments. So it came out of economic developments. Okay, so their main support, this liberal change, the main support for this liberal change came from the lawyers, doctors, teachers, engineers, and other what we call professionals. Okay, so the professional middle class, and the main priorities were civil rights. Okay, don't forget, civil rights were actually outlined in the October Manifesto. So outlined in the October Manifesto. However, they never really came to fruition in society. And the liberals were strongly represented in the Zemstvas, so the local governments, okay, so local legislatures. Legislatures. And so, again, many of these were doctors, lawyers, engineers, for example. So these were the professional middle class. So the professional middle class. The professional middle class. Oh, middle. Nearly spelt missile then. The professional missile class. Okay. And Tsarist incompetence that was exemplified when the Duma failed to deal with famine relief created more liberal opposition. So the relationship between the Tsar and the Duma was always strained. Okay, and when the Duma failed to deliver any kind of famine relief in 1891 and 1892, okay, the Tsar was mainly blamed for it. Okay, and there was also an attempted all-Zemstva organization that was banned by the Tsar in 1896. So with that being said, let's have a look at the liberal ideology. We've worked out really what who the liberals were and the opposition and why there was opposition towards the Tsar and his reign. But what was the liberal ideology? Well, in 1899, frustrated liberals formed what was known as Beside, okay, which was the first liberal opposition group. This merged in 1903 with the Union of Liberation, okay, and this group was founded by Peter Struve, okay, and Struve was an interesting Marxist. Is the word I'm going to use. So he was a Marxist, but he was opposed to revolution and supported the idea of constitutional monarchy. Now, this is an interesting area of Marx because Marx really believed Marxist ideology, so we say Marxist theory was very pro-revolution. In earlier videos, I've mentioned that you can't really have a definitive definition and a definitive explanation of all of Marxist theory because Marxist theory is very vague and very complicated. So, but what is generally seen is that Marx did advocate for revolution. And so for this reason, the Union wanted to see the Tsar create a constitutional monarchy. So he was a Marxist that supported the idea of constitutional monarchy. This is something that people would have been very much supportive of, the idea of a constitutional monarchy, but the Tsar never brought it about because of his fundamental laws in 1906. So there was less influence from liberal opposition following 1905, the 1905 revolution, because they were mostly won over by the October Manifesto. So in some regards, the October Manifesto did its job. So in theory, shall we say, in theory, the October Manifesto did its job, which is very interesting. Okay, so liberals tried to cooperate with the Tsar through the Duma, okay, which is obviously something that was a doomed idea from the start, because the Duma really was subordinate to the Tsar. And there was definitely very little evidence to show any kind of progress to a constitutional monarchy at the time of 1914. So the liberals, they were opposed to the Tsar's practices and were opposed to the Tsar in general, but they were willing to work with the Tsar to try and bring about constitutional change. However, it was the Tsar who refused to bring about any of this constitutional change and refused to create a constitutional monarchy.